Alamofire is overrated. It is a huge dependency in your project and it has a steep learning curve. I'm Alex from Rebeloper, and if you're interested in learning an Alamofire alternative, which is much simpler to use, make sure to hit that subscribe button and then open up Xcode and let's dive in. Everybody seems to be using Alamofire today, but I'm using networking, and today I'm going to show you the reasons and how to implement networking into your apps. Before we dive deep into that, let me just remind you about Dev Factory, a 60 minutes Zoom call with me on a one-on-one session where you can let's say you do have some issues with your project, I can fix those bugs, or you can learn how to use swiftui or whatever you'd like to have in your projects. Go ahead and check out Dev Factory at rebeloper.com/mentoring. So let's dive deep into why I'm using networking. Well, for that, I have created a brand new Xcode project. So this is just the default templated Xcode project. And what you're going to do is to download the resources. It's the link in the description, and just add them to your project. These resources are just these helper files that makes our lives easier in this tutorial, so I don't have to type all of those out. So I will just, where I will first of all delete the content view, and then let me just drag and drop these files right over here. Okay, let's click on finish, and what I'm going to do is just add the content view inside a navigation view. Basically, that's our whole setup here. And before we take a look at the files, I will just go ahead and show you what we are going to import as a Swift package, and that is networking. That can be found at github.com/freshos/networking. Now, you may take a look at the documentation. There's quite a lot, but today I'm going to make it super easy to use. So what we want to do here is just click on this code and copy out that URL, go back to Xcode, and then add this as a package dependency. Okay, let's just paste it in there, and let's select add package. Okay, so again, add package. There we go, networking 0.3.3, what I'm using here, but most probably it will be okay also in the future. Okay, so let's hit Command B so we can see that everything builds as expected, and then I will just go through all of the files right over here. And the first one is the content view. So here we have a scroll view and two text views. And we are going to fetch a post. That is our project today. We are going to set up its title and body into the text, and then we have a divider and a button with a fetch post. And here we have a fetch post function, which will fetch the post with the ID of 1. We handle the error, otherwise we just print out this, because in the view model on the fetch post, let's just go there, on the fetch post we are going to add that fetch post into the published posts variable. Also, we are going to fetch also arrays, so all the CRUD and are going to be covered. Let's take a look at the post right over here. It's a simple codable. It has a user ID, title, body, and I just created this convenience initializer, so I can just initialize it with these default values. This is used, by the way, in the content view model right over here. Okay, so next up we have some error print extension, and we are using networking here, so this is easy. So this is good to use to just check, did we have networking status code error or whatever we want to JSON decoding error. You can just download these at your convenience. Finally, we have our promise handler, and I will get to this when we are going to talk about how we can sync to these publishers. But that's a little bit to the end of the tutorial. But make sure that you also add this into your project, because we are going to use this and it's going to make our lives a lot easier. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, first of all, let's, well, we did import networking, and second, we want to make our models adhere to the networking JSON decodable, because after we are going to fetch our JSONs from our server, we are going to decode them. So let's just do that. Let's just go to the post, and right over here, I'm just going to create an extension on the post, and that will adhere to the networking, let's say JSON decodable. Okay, and this is basically all you have to do right here. You are just going, if your models are codable, then this will work right out of the box. Okay, so from where are we going to get these these calls, API calls? Well, let's just go to Safari, and I'm using JSONPLACEHOLDer. Now we are going to fetch a post, and that is going to be this one. So get post /1, but you could also implement all of the get requests, post requests, put, patch, and delete requests. I'm going to show you the code also for that one. So let's build out our API. Back to Xcode, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call that API. Okay, so let's import networking here, and let's also import combine. Okay, so first of all, let's create our struct of API. And networking gives us a handy service that we are going to use. So networking service, where is it? Service, there we go. And this requires that we have a network. That equals a networking client, open parentheses, and here we have a base URL and an optional timeout. So we could just have this set to nil, or we could just also remove that, but I'm just letting it there so you can take a look at it. And then here we have our base URL. I'm just copying it out and pasting it there. Okay, so that's our network, and let's just hit Command B, because that error should go away. Okay, but we can also set up some log levels. So for that, I'm going to create a network setup right over here, a class network setup, and let's just create a lazy var called network of type network client equals to, and let's initialize that. And right over here, let's create a variable called network. And let's just do the same thing right over here. And by the way, I'm just going to remove it from here this time around. And let's return our network. So it's kind of the same thing. Now I can just add it right over here. So network setup dot network, and that will still apply. Now currently it's the same thing, but now I can just go on and add, let's say, the timeout of 5 here, and network. Currently the log levels are off, so let's just have it in debug. That's kind of the most that we can add. The debug, info, and off are the options for our log levels. Okay, so now that we got our network, and as you can see, this was really, really small code to write, we want to create, let's say, a fetch request. So let's just create, actually, I don't know how deep are you into Combine, but we are going to touch upon a little bit of Combine today. This fetch a request will be on any publisher, but you will understand this really easily. So let's create a function called fetch post. So fetch post, and that will be a post with post UID, post with ID, and let's just name this ID, and I do know that it is an int value, and this will actually return an any publisher of type post and error. Okay, so this is kind of a publisher that we can sync to, like in combined terms, we can subscribe to them. And yeah, that is what we are going to do. It's really, really simple. Once you get a hang of it, this will be super fast to write out. So what we want to do is have a get right over here. And as you can see, here we have a get with a route. And we are going to type out here slash posts slash and ID. Okay, and that's it. Now we can use this. So let's just go ahead and go into our content view model, and let's create our API. So let's just have a private let API that equals to API. And now right over here, fetch post with ID, we are going to use that. So let's just go API dot let's see, fetch post with ID, and the ID will be ID. From there, generate. Let me just have some more room here. And then what we want to do is sync. So we are going to subscribe this, and on the receive completion, we are going to get back a result right over here and a post on the value. So here we just go self.post equals post, and that in turn will update the UI. So that's really, really nice. Okay, right over here on the result, we want to go result, switch result, and let's just wait for this. So xcode complains, and we can add in the two cases for finished, and then we just go break on the finished case, and on the failure we are going to get back an error, and we are going to complete with that error. Also, after we set the post, we want to complete with nil. Now this is a good practice. What the functions that you are using on the view itself you want to have a completion on them with an optional error. So we might get an error or not. If we get an error, we just propagate that onto the view and just show it. Currently we are just going to print it out, show it into an alert. And then after we get a value, we just complete with nil. Nothing bad happened. Also, we want to store this subscription in the cancellables. As you can see, we already created a set of any cancellables. And basically that's it. Let's see what we got right on the content view. So we have our fetch post. Let's just check this out. Are we going to fetch some posts? So let's build and run and test it out. And after that, I'm going to show you all the other types of APIs that we can have, like a basic CRUD that we are going to use. Okay, let's just click on fetch. And there we go. We just fetch that data. And here are our logs. As you can see, there's quite a lot because we set up the debug mode for the logs. And that's really, really nice. Okay, so let's move forward and let's take a look at some other APIs, requests, and well, before we do that, let me just go ahead and make this a little bit more easier, because if we are going to go and fetch and update and create all of that stuff, we are going to reuse this over and over again. And that's where that's why I created this promise handler. It just makes our life easier with the help of generics. So your generic needs to be codable. And this is how we are going to refactor this. Let's just stop this and let's have a little bit more space over here. So first of all, I want to remove this whole subscription right over here. And I want to create a promise. Now the promise is that, okay, this will give us back either a value or a result of finished or an error. So let promise. equals this API fetch post with ID. So now that we got our promise, let's use the promise handler. So promise handler dot fulfill, and as you can see there are three: fulfill, fulfill array, and fulfill delete. We are going to take a look at all of them. We are going to use fulfill right over here, fulfill our promise, and stored in cancellables, and we are going to get back a completion with a result. Now as you can see, the result is kind of unknown, so let's type this out again. So we are going to have come back a post and then type out fulfill. Now you see that it automatically infers that type, so promise stored in cancellables, and then we have a result, either a post success or a failure with errors. So result, and then we are going to switch through that result. Let's just wait for Xcode again to nag us about that, and let's add those two cases in. So right over here on the success, we are going to get back a post and then an error. Okay, so right over here, self.post equals post, completion nil. And right over here, we are just going to complete with that error. And that is how simple it is. Let's build and run and see if these changes did indeed work. So yeah, there we go. It's really nicely working. Okay, so let's take a look at some others like create, update, and all of the patch and all of that stuff. So what I'm going to do, this is kind of the same thing. What I'm going to do is just copy out, and you can take a look at the code. So first of all, let me just stop this and go to the API. And what I'm going to do here, we are just having a fetch. Now let's just add in all of the other ones like create, update, patch, delete, and fetch all the posts. So copying that out from there and just pasting it in. So as you can see, let's just have all that indented. We are having here create, update, patch, delete, and fetch post. And we can also have parameters if we wanted to. So that's really cool. Now, these are self-explanatory. So you can just use them. Just take a look at this and just use that in your own projects. So now let's add all of that stuff into the content view also. So let me just copy that out, delete, fetch posts. Okay. And copying it and paste it right over here. Okay, let's indent everything again, and let's see what we added in here. So fetch, we already saw that. We want to create, and yeah, it's another post. This is really awesome. We want to have again a fulfill a promise, and update the same thing. The difference is here that we are using the different APIs, API patch, API update, that post. Now here comes the delete. We want to fulfill a delete because then the promise will be something else. And also for the arrays, you want to fulfill an array. And this takes care of every use case you might want to have in your projects. Let's build and run again to see if everything works. We didn't break anything. Let's just tap on fetch. There we go. We have a valid fetch, and that's it. Don't forget, everything is run by FreshOS's networking. It's a really small networking library I really like. And currently we just use the JSON placeholder. Now, if you do like these kind of teaching styles, go ahead and check out a dev factory at rebeloper.com/mentoring, where you can meet me on a one-on-one Zoom meeting if you have any bugs in your code, or if you would like to learn more about swiftui or Combine. Go ahead and check out rebeloper.com/mentoring. Networking can do so much more than what I have just shown you. It can have headers, you can download data, you can parse JSON also, so it's a huge win overall. So if you do like this video, go ahead and hit that like button down below. And while you are at it, make sure to hit that notification bell to get notified of new videos on this channel. Videos like these ones. Go ahead and check them out. They are really awesome about Swift UI in general. And as usual, I will see you in the next one.